right. Hello, families. Welcome to our family support series for the night. We're going to wait just a couple minutes to get started to let other attendees join, and then we'll get right into it. All right, we are going to go ahead and get started. So welcome everybody to our family support series of the month. This one is all about student support and advocacy center at George Mason University, who you'll hear from in a little bit to talk more about the work that they do, how they empower your student, and also how you can encourage your student to take access to everything that they are providing. So before we get started, the family team is going to go ahead and introduce themselves. So Camille, I'll let you go ahead.
Good evening, families. My name is Camille Clark. My pronouns are she, her. I am the Associate Director of Family Programs in New Student and Family Programs.
And hello, everyone. My name is Mackenzie Nelson. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Assistant Director of Family Programs.
Evening, everyone. My name is Karen, and I am the family coordinator for New Student Family Programs, and I use she, her pronouns.
All right, so we're just going to go ahead and get into the content today. So Michelle, who's here with us, is the Associate Director of SSAC. She's going to give a short presentation, and then afterwards we'll be taking any questions from you all as attendees. So if you have questions as we go along, you can utilize the Q&A function. That's going to be on the bottom half of your screen. Go ahead and click on that button, and you can send us any questions that you have, and we'll make sure that we try and get to them at the end of the presentation. So we can go ahead and get started. Michelle, I'll pass it to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Mackenzie. And hello, everyone. My name is Michelle Song. I use she, her pronouns. I am an associate director in the Student Support and Advocacy Center, or as it's known to our students and community, SSAC. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and hope that technology is working well for me this evening. All right. So, SSAC, we're located on the Fairfax campus in the Sub 1 building. We also have representation on the Mason Square campus. One of our full-time staff members is on that campus full-time. And a little bit about our center with our mission statement. So SSAC is a central support unit that is within university life that provides support to all Mason students, no matter graduate, undergraduate, any students that are affiliated with the university. And we provide a variety of one-on-one support, programming, and resources for general support, as well as specific topic areas that I will get into. The part of our mission statement that I love the most is the last sentence. We assist students encountering barriers for their personal success, and it's really just any barriers that are coming up that we're striving to mitigate for students and help them understand what resources are available to them and really empower them to take advantage of the resources that Mason can offer. So like I mentioned, we have a variety of topic areas. This is just a quick overview, and I'm going to go into each of these in detail, so I won't necessarily call them out at this point. But as you can see, we have a lot going on in our center. So I'll start with students in distress. Students in distress is what we categorize as any student facing any type of challenge that falls outside one of our other defined topic areas. So this could be things like academic stress, mental health challenges. Um, a lot of times, maybe communication with faculty can be a point of concern for students. If students have a family or a personal emergency that they're impacted by during their time at Mason, they can come in and get support from one of our case managers in SSAC. So that really looks like resource navigation. So getting the student connected to the right individual or the right resource, whether that's through George Mason or through one of our community partners. And we have on-campus and off-campus student support. So we do have some staff members that work specifically with residential students. Maybe there's, a roommate conflict concern that they want to get help navigating. So things like that are specific on-campus focus and really just a central clearinghouse for students to understand what resources are available to them. Next, our first topic area, basic needs services. So this is general support for any students who are experiencing food or housing insecurity. Our basic needs services team is very well connected with many community resources to get students assistance. We also have some internal programs. So the Meal Swipe program allows students who don't have meal plans and who do have significant need to get access to a limited number of meal swipes. Gowns for Grads is another example of one of the basic needs services programs where graduating students can have a gown loaned to them to be able to participate in their commencement ceremony. Part of basic needs services is our Patriot Pantry. So the Patriot Pantry is an on-campus food pantry that has non-perishable food and personal hygiene items that any registered Mason student can access up to once per week. They don't have to have any other eligibility criteria except for just acknowledging that they're experiencing food insecurity. So we try to make this as accessible as possible for students who are experiencing food insecurity or might need a little bit of additional help with access to personal hygiene items. And then the Patriot Pantry team assists in getting students connected with community pantries as well. Our newest functional area is the single stop platform. We were really excited to bring this on a little over a year ago. So the single stop platform is a website that allows students to complete a screener to assess eligibility for a variety of federal, state, and community benefits. So those are things like Medicaid, SNAP, WIC, a variety of tax relief programs. There's also a database directly within the Single Stop program that can connect students to a ton of community resources. And this program is accessible by students across the country. So even if a student is maybe home for the summer, if they live out of state, they can put their zip code into the resource browser in Single Stop and find resources in their local community. Sexual interpersonal violence is one of the confidential topic areas within SSAC. So we do provide confidential one-on-one support for students who have been impacted by sexual and interpersonal violence. The sexual and interpersonal violence team also does a lot of programming at the university, hosting events and education around this topic. And there's also a bystander intervention program that they host, which is a workshop that they go in and they can do with a lot of different campus groups to be able to empower students to recognize and stand up when they see something that makes them uncomfortable or that when they're trying and hoping to support someone that may have disclosed sexual interpersonal violence experience to them. Next up, substance use support. So this is one-on-one support for students who are concerned about their own alcohol or substance use or the use of a friend. I do want to make it clear here, this is not substance use treatment. No one in SSAC operates as a clinician, but it's more to be able to provide support for that student to understand their behavior and understand what might be beneficial to them in terms of accessing treatment if that's something that they need, and referring the student to a variety of treatment opportunities in the community. There's also a very large community education component to this. So the substance use team strives to teach our students about alcohol and other substance use, how that might impact them, and just the culture around substance use in college, and understanding what options are available to them if this is something that they struggle with. There's also a peer educator program that is being built back up for substance use. So students who are interested in talking about this topic with their peers can join the peer education program. Next is respondent services. This is another confidential topic area, and respondent services provides case management to students who are responding to a Title IX allegation. So this is a part of a sexual interpersonal violence prevention-wide program to ensure that students responding to allegations understand what their responsibilities through the process are, understand their rights, and can also be connected to mental health resources if they need them. And there's a lot of resource navigation that can go into respondent services as well. So helping students get connected with any resources that they might need as they are navigating a Title IX process. And the last but not least, financial well-being. So our financial well-being team provides a variety of support around financial literacy, teaching students about budgeting, teaching students about credit, teaching students about opportunities for paying for college. And this can be done on a one-on-one. It's also done on a group and communication basis as well. One thing that's not on here that could be helpful for families to be aware of too is that the financial well-being team can assist students in understanding the FAFSA, and assist them with understanding their loan options and steps that they would need to take to make sure that they're ready to pay off their loans when the time comes. That's kind of a secondary step after the student and or family has already engaged with the financial aid office. So it's just an additional level of support to students who might need a little bit of extra help understanding federal aid. The financial well-being team also manages what's called the Stay Mason Student Support Fund, which is an emergency fund. Any students who are experiencing financial emergencies that occur during their time enrolled at Mason can apply for the fund and it operates as a grant, so it's not a loan, but the fund can provide some minimal financial amount to be able to cover the cost of those financial emergencies. So some examples might be the student or the person who's supporting student and paying tuition loses their job. We've had some students who unfortunately have been in car accidents and haven't been able to pay for their car repairs. A student's laptop breaks and they are not able to afford laptop repairs or replacement. So things like that come up that impact their ability to continue at Mason. And the purpose of this fund really is to assist students with continuing on and to reach that completion of their degree. So students do have to have earned at least 12 credits at the university before they're eligible for this fund. There are some other eligibility criteria that's listed online, but it can be beneficial for students who experience that unexpected financial emergency. Lastly, our financial well-being peer mentors, who are wonderful, typically undergraduate, but some graduate students who work with our financial well-being team, and their role is to partner with local high schools, and they go in and they work with high school students to understand their options for paying for college, and trying to get that information in as soon as we can, so students and families at the high school level can have a little bit of knowledge about that before taking the next step. So that concludes all of our topic areas. Now I'll get into just a little bit of what actually happens. What do we actually do when we have a student who's interested in pursuing one of these resources? So SSAC operates largely on a referral basis, which means that sometimes faculty, sometimes staff, sometimes family or community members are referring a student directly to our office. So if you have a student who attends George Mason who you feel could benefit from services in one of those topic areas, you can refer your student to us, or of course, you can encourage your student to reach out to us directly. I'd say this time of year, because it's March, we're coming up on midterms, the majority of referrals right now are coming from faculty members. So we're getting faculty referring students to us and saying, hey, this student hasn't showed up in class in a couple of weeks. They're not prepared for the midterm. Can you reach out to them and check in on them and see how they're doing? So once that case comes in, we move to the evaluation stage where a few of our team members will review the case and they'll assign it to the right mini team within SSAC. Something else I should note, apologies, back to the new case referral. So students can also refer themselves essentially. So they are filling out a request for support. While we largely receive referrals from others, we get many self-referrals as well. So once the case is assigned to the appropriate staff member, the staff member will reach out directly to the student, typically by email, sometimes by phone, depending on the nature of the concern. And we will invite the student to come in and meet with us. And we're typically meeting anywhere from 1 to 3 times with the student over the course of a couple of weeks, or, as long as it might take to resolve whatever their concern is or to address and help provide services in whatever topic area they're interested in. Those meetings can be done virtually or in person. And then the final step is really just addressing as best as we can, any of the concerns that the student does have, getting them registered for any of our specific programs that they might be interested in or eligible for, and then also assisting with communication. So we often might refer a student to one of our campus partners. Let's say, for example, a student is interested in getting connected with mental health services. We can refer them directly to the Counseling and Psychological Services office. We can refer them directly to a success coach or disability services, one of the other many, many resources that George Mason has. And some tips as a family member. So anytime you might be concerned about your student or maybe another student that attends GMU, one of the things that we always encourage is to communicate directly with your student and empower them to seek out support. We often might encourage you to get a better understanding of exactly what your student is going through, but I also recognize that sometimes there are things that they might not want to share with mom, dad, guardian, brother, sister, or other family member. And so you can always refer your student to our office. If you do that, we ask you and encourage you to let your student know that you're referring them. Can always say, hey, I joined a family support series. I learned about this great resource at Mason. I think that you could take advantage of, and I submitted a referral for you. Students sometimes think that they are in trouble when we reach out to them, but that is not the case. We're here to provide support. And so we want to make that clear to students and families. And then if you are able to talk to them about our services, encourage them to respond to us and to meet with us and engage with us and to have a conversation with us about how we could support them. A few more tips. I noted this already, but our goal is to help students. They're not in trouble when they hear from us. It's also important to note that referrals are not anonymous. So if a student asks us, hey, how did you learn that I'm struggling a little bit with my mental health? If their parent referred them, we would have to say, your parent referred us to you, or referred you to us, excuse me. So that's another reason why we encourage anyone who's referring a student to SSAC to have that conversation with them first. Also important for families is to understand how you can be involved in this process. So because of FERPA, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, we are not able to share student information directly with any family member. You are more than welcome to contact our office, call our office, ask general questions about resources available, refer your student, of course. We can confirm that a student is enrolled in the university because that's directory information, but we can't give you any information about your student's classes, grades, any information about our engagement with your student. That's all protected. And SSAC also has a specific consent to release information form. If there's ever a student that would like a family member to be involved and to be able to receive information, then they would have to work with us to sign that form. Um, A last thing to note here, parents and family members are only able to participate in SSAC meetings with the student's written consent. It's very rare that a parent or family member joins an SSAC meeting. We encourage and empower students, now that they are at the college level, to come in and meet with us and to have those conversations and receive that support directly. I will say sometimes, just depending on the family's involvement in various things, particularly usually finances, that might come up a little bit more. It might be beneficial to have a family member involved in the conversation, but that could only happen if the student gives us permission. Okay, so how do you actually do this? If you're interested in referring a student, you could go to our website, ssac.gmu.edu, click right there at the top on the Request Support and Make Referrals button. That takes you to this page. This is also where a student would go to request support. But if you as a family member are referring a student, you would click on the referral form link. It takes you to a third-party secure website used. That's our case management website called Guardian, where you would put in your information, the information about your student, and then the details of why you're referring them to our office. All right, last little tidbit of information. So I've talked about all of the things that we can do, which SSAC does a lot of awesome work, but sometimes we get some questions and we want to make it clear what our limitations are. So we do not operate as first responders. We do sometimes get community members who might call in or submit a referral indicating that there's some type of emergent concern for a student. Maybe there's a student who has expressed some very severe mental health concerns, or there's someone who's reporting an act of violence that they have been made aware of. That type of information, while it's helpful for us to know to provide follow-up if there's an emergent need in the moment, community members are informed to call GMU PD or 911, who have the resources to physically respond immediately to those types of concerns. Also, something I already mentioned, we're not clinicians. Many of us in SSAC have mental health backgrounds, just because of the nature of our work, but we do not serve as licensed clinicians in our work in SSAC. If a student has concerns about their mental health, we would welcome them to come in and talk to us about that so we can help them determine what the right next step is for receiving clinical support. We do not provide accommodations for disabilities. That is through the Disability Services Office, which I understand recently did a family support series. And we do not uphold the Code of Student Conduct. So while we certainly agree with and refer students who have questions to the Office of Student Conduct, we're not responsible for any type of conduct outcome. We often have students who might reach out to us and say, hey, can you help advocate for me through this conduct process? And unfortunately, that is not something that we're able to do. Somewhat similarly, we don't have academic authority. So one of the things we might do often is assist students with communication to their professors. So an example of this might be the student experiences a family emergency. Let's say they have a loss in the family and they need to, be out of class for a week or two. They would have to work directly with their faculty members regarding, what the policies are for missing class. Our office can certainly advocate to the faculty. We can assist the student with understanding, their academic policies, but we do not have the authority to tell the professors, you have to give this student permission to miss class. Finally, we cannot require students to engage with us. It's completely up to the student. So there have been many times when we have done outreach to a student and they've said, thank you, but I don't think I need support from you right now. And we also can't guarantee immediate resolution or any type of behavioral change outcome. And I believe that's everything I have for you. Yes, it is. So here's a couple of little photos of things that our different topic areas have hosted over the years, and some staff members that we have. We have a relatively big team for the type of work we do. We have 20 full-time staff members, and I don't even know off the top of my head the amount of student staff that we have. Um, but we are always excited to engage with families, share information. If you ever have questions, you're welcome to reach out. Here's the unit's contact information again. And I know we have some time, so I will stop now and would love to address any questions that there are from the attendees. And I'm going to stop sharing as well, just so I can see the webinar.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Michelle. That was a fantastic presentation and fantastic information that you shared. So thank you so much for being here tonight. And yes, we're going to go ahead and get into questions for Michelle. Again, like I said at the beginning, if you have questions that you'd like to directly ask her about SSAC and their work, you can use, again, that Q&A function that's going to be at the bottom of the screen. Just click on that button and you can send us a question. But we will go ahead and get started with some questions that we already have. The first being, what SSAC or Student Support and Advocacy Center resource is most utilized among students that you see?
That's a great question. Financial well-being is a very popular one. Um, and I would also say this our general students in distress category, which is technically like everything outside of all the topic areas that we have. Um, so most common referrals that we are getting are related to mental health concerns, academic concerns, survivor support, which is the official name of our team who assists students experiencing sexual and interpersonal violence. Um, and then finances. Those are the big ones. I would say more recently, because of some growth that our center has gone through, we have been able to introduce a lot of new basic needs services programs, which are getting a lot of traction and which have been able to support a lot of students. So I imagine that will continue to grow as well.
Thank you so much. And then on the flip side of that, my question is, what resource at SSAC is maybe underutilized that you wish more students knew about, or people push them to use it more often? What do you think that is?
Um, all of them. We're very busy, but George Mason University has 40,000 students. We would love for as many students as possible to be able to take advantage of our services. Generally, we try very hard to communicate to the entire campus community about what SSAC can do. But a lot of our work is a little bit more reactive. So students who have concerns come up and then are seeking support. And so because most of it's reactive and only some of it might be more preventative, um, I think that all of our topic areas could be utilized more. If I had to pick one, this might be cheating a little bit, but I'm going to say Single Stop because it's our newest. Single Stop is an incredibly powerful platform. I'll also say I supervise this platform, so maybe it's a little bit of a my own plug that I think Single Stop could be utilized more, and um, definitely has the place to grow. So Single Stop in particular, I would encourage anyone to take a look at to see if it's something that they could benefit from.
Yeah, thank you for talking about that. I don't think I've heard of that resource yet either.
Yeah.
So we can definitely push students to look into that a little bit more.
Mhm.
All right. My next question is, what campus partners do SSAC typically partner with most often? Like, does your work couple with different units on campus very easily? Are there others that you try and get more outreach to different areas of students or areas on campus?
Sure. So many of them, which is great. So we have established formal partnerships with a couple of different units. Housing and residence life, I mentioned that we have team members who work specifically with residential students, so that's a formal partnership. And then also um, counseling and psychological services, disability services, student health services, student success coaching, Office of Student Conduct. I think those are the ones. We're part of an interdisciplinary team with to be able to provide well-rounded support to students. The George Mason University Police Department we work with often, and also new student family programs. So myself and one of my colleagues in SSAC, Maddie, are the official liaison to new student family programs for our office, and we love being a part of orientation and welcoming new students. Um, but I would say those are the ones that we work with the most closely. A lot of those other like support units, and the reason for that is because when there's a student who, comes in, or a situation that a student's going through that we're made aware of, we can work with those campus partners to ensure that the student is receiving all of the support that they need. So, for example, if there's a student who's experiencing mental health distress, academic concerns, and they are navigating barriers related to a documented disability, we might work with CAPS, success coaching or learning services, and disability services to provide well-rounded support to that student.
Thank you so much. All right, this next one, you've talked a little bit about the referral process and kind of that caseload that you all have. And when someone is referred, the student will know who is the one that submitted that referral. Can you go more in depth about that referral process, specifically from your side as well? Like what the student will experience throughout the meetings that they have with you, what steps they'll have to take? Are there any other steps family members would have to take in that process? So can you kind of cover some of that again?
Yeah, sure. So I'll try to give just kind of come up with a specific example that might help understand exactly like what this looks like. So let's say there is a student who has to be hospitalized for whatever reason for 5 days. And there's a family member who is managing that student in terms of the hospitalization. And the family member wants to refer the student to SSAC to get an understanding of what support is available to the student, and then what follow-up would look like after they can leave the hospital and return to class. So a family member might contact our office and refer the student. They can refer them, they can call our office directly to provide the information, or they can submit the referral form online that I showed. We would ask during that referral process for the family member to fill out as much information as they can about the student's particular circumstances, maybe when the student might be expected to return to class, and what specific type of support the student might be looking for as they're returning. Then that case would be reviewed by our team and assigned to a particular case manager. So I do serve as one of the case managers. So let's say I get assigned the case. And then I might, at that point, do follow-up outreach to the family member that referred the student. No matter what, you as the family member, as the reporting party, would receive an email from our office acknowledging we received this referral, we understand the circumstances, and we will be contacting your student to provide support. But in a situation like this, where a student's hospitalized for a couple of days, maybe there's more information that we need. So I might call the family member, introduce myself, let them know that I'm the case manager that can assist with this situation, and also give them some guidance on how this type of situation is handled on both the academic side and like the support resources side. So if you have as the family member have questions about, well, what happens to my students' classes if they have to miss class for 5 days? That's something that we could discuss. If you are saying, well, my student is an athlete and they are going to miss their practices, that's something that we could discuss. And I can also help connect you with the right person to be able to get those answers. Now, something that I mentioned earlier was that I still have to abide by FERPA, right? So any answers to the questions I'm giving you are going to be general policies, not like specifically related to your student. But I can still give you a pretty good understanding of what would happen and what this looks like. Then I would reach out to the student. So if you tell me, oh, they're getting discharged from the hospital in 3 days, I might still send that student an email now, let the student know your family member informed us of this circumstance, My name's Michelle. I would love to meet with you once you're discharged so that I can help support you in transitioning back to class. Um, and then I would probably give it a couple of days. If I don't hear from your student, I might follow up with them or I might give them a call once I know that they've been discharged from the hospital. And then at that point, it's completely up to your student. But if they are open to engaging with me, they would schedule a meeting directly with me. And meeting scheduling is done online. We use bookings link that students can go and just easily schedule with a case manager. And then that conversation would be really start with whatever the student needs right in that moment, whatever their highest concern is. So if their highest concern is getting caught back up on coursework, we'll talk about a plan for that. If their highest concern is continued care related to whatever maybe medical or mental health circumstance, was what caused them to be hospitalized, we would talk about resources for that. Or maybe their greatest concern is, I've been disconnected from my friends for a while and it further impacted that and I need social support. We would talk about resources for that. So it's really just focused on what the student needs. But of course, we do kind of check into because they're a student primarily. They're also a human. We want to make sure that they have all of their needs met. And so maybe that can be addressed in one meeting. Maybe it needs to be addressed in 3 meetings. So we kind of take that as it comes. At that point, it's not very likely that I would communicate back with the family member, unless the family member, we have specific like questions that we have for the family member, or if you as the family member want more questions, you could contact me directly. But once we're able to make that contact with the student, it's the student's responsibility to continue engaging with us as needed. Okay, I know that was very long-winded, but hopefully that example gives a little bit clearer picture of exactly what it looks like.
Yes, that was fantastic. So thank you for walking us through that. Um, Wonderful. Okay, we do have a couple more questions for you that I want to make sure we get to. The first being, I really want to highlight this resource. I don't think we talk about it enough, which is the Patriot Pantry. This is something that we get a lot of questions from families, and our parent family council is how they can contribute. So can you talk a little bit about the donation process where people can learn more? We can also put any links in the chat as well for anyone interested. But can you talk about donations for the Patriot Pantry?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm actually pulling up our website now because some of this has just changed recently. A little bit of a side note, we just, as of this semester, opened up a pantry at the Mason Square campus as well. So it is certainly an amazing resource for our students. So donations can be dropped off in person to either the Fairfax campus Patriot Pantry or the Mason Square Patriot Pantry. The exact locations are listed on our website, which I could probably send. Oh, great. It's already been sent in the chat. So if you go to that webpage and just scroll right down to the section that says donate to the pantry, it lists exactly what types of items would be accepted, and then the locations where they can be dropped off. There's other ways to donate. So we do have an Amazon wish list. So the Amazon wish lists for each of the pantry locations are linked from that same webpage. So anyone can go and just order directly from the Amazon wish list and it gets sent to the pantry. There's also a list of most commonly requested items right there on that webpage. So if you're looking to, buy something specific. And then finally, anyone can just donate monetarily to the pantry. So there's a monetary donation link on that page as well. If there are any large donations, like sometimes we have organizations that reach out to us that want to do a big food drive. So if there's any significant donations in that regard, then we would request that you contact the pantry directly to arrange a time to either drop it off or there's certain ways that sometimes they can be picked up right on campus, but we don't currently have a way for any one of our staff to go and pick up donations. They would have to be brought at least to campus. So if you're interested in making a donation that would require that type of collaboration, the contact information that's on the same webpage is what you would use. So it's either pantry@gmu.edu, which is for the Fairfax campus, or mspantry@gmu.edu, which is for the Mason Square Pantry.
Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to do one final call for questions from any of our participants. If there's any questions you have for Michelle, go ahead and put them in the Q&A now. And while we wait to see if we have any final ones roll in, I'll ask this last question is, how can family members best support their students who may use any of these SSAC resources? What advice would you have for them?
I'm so sorry, Mackenzie. I think my audio just cut out for a second. Can you repeat that question?
Yes, of course. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. The question was, how can family members best support their students who may use any SSAC resources, and what advice or insight would you have for them?
Yeah, definitely. First, in terms of advice or insight, I would say uh, it's okay if your student is struggling. If your student is struggling, that's not an uncommon experience. And that doesn't mean they're failing. That doesn't mean that college is not right for them. Um, there are a lot of things that are impacting our college students now that were not impacting our college students 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. And so if your student is going through something, that's okay and support is available. And so I would say, communicate with them, uh, you know, in terms of just checking in, letting them know that you're there for them if that's something that you're willing to be, and also letting them know that George Mason University is there for them and there are resources available. I think normalizing experiences goes a long way with some of the students that we work with. And then also the other aspect of this is empowerment, which I recognize it can be really hard for family members to step away and let their student take charge of their experience at Mason. Um, and we always encourage students to take the step that is right for them. We encourage students to consider all the options that might be available. We encourage students to make their own choices. We can't make the choices for them, but we can support them along the way. So I think just normalizing the experience, open communication, and support and empowerment, um, and letting them know that, we in SSAC love working with students. We love having conversations with students, and we're first and foremost a support resource. And I will say sometimes, like I have students come in my office and sit for an hour and they just want to vent, and that's fine. Sometimes that can be helpful, even if they don't aren't able to like take advantage of one of the specific services that we have. And then lastly, I mean, if you ever have any questions, our phones are open from Monday, Friday, 9 to 5. So please don't hesitate to call or email us at ssac@gmu.edu if you have general questions about how you can support your student through a specific situation.
Perfect. Well, that is a perfect segue into wrapping up our session together. Thank you so much, Michelle, for being here and answering all of our questions and providing all this information to families. I know it's been incredibly fruitful, so we really appreciate that. And again, for any of our participants, if you have any future questions, please reach out to SSAC directly using the contact information Michelle provided. And if you want to go to their website, all their contact information is also going to be on their website that we linked in the chat. So please reach out to them in the future. And if you have any questions for the family programs team, you can always contact us through the Mason Family Connection or again through the contact information on our website. But we'll go ahead and end it there. Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you for everyone attending, and we hope you have a great rest of your night.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.
Bye.